Hi there, I'm Coach Paige with Rooted in Movement, and this is a seated hip flexor strengthening exercise. It's really testing your strength at your end range, right? So let's say that you have, movement in the overhead position. This is as far as you can go before you start trying to accidentally compensate or do the movement by trying to use other muscles or leverage other body parts. That would be my end range of what's called shoulder flexion. That's the end point at which I can move it to. You can challenge your proprioception and the muscle spindle length at its end range. This will sometimes over time actually improve your mobility. You can start gaining access to better range of motion or greater range of motion by doing exercises like this. So if you're seeing it in your program, it could be in your warm-up to kind of warm up the brain, proprioception, sensory system, or it could be also put in as a cool down, just as a technique, something to work on. So let's begin. You're in a seated position. Ideally, you have your back against the wall or a non-moving object. This actually allows you to do the movement correctly. It allows you to leverage a little bit of your core stability so that you can be sure that you're using your hip flexor muscles. It's not a requirement, but more often than not, it is very helpful. Whether you have a yoga block or this is our cut up little noodle, or even just a small dumbbell. The object that you're using doesn't matter. The smaller it is, the better in the beginning so that you can practice and have success. As it gets bigger or taller, that is where you're going to be challenging yourself further. So let me just show you. Again, I want to set up in a seated position. I'm going to have my back kind of right against the wall, keeping myself relatively tall, or I might even lean forward just a little bit, and I'm going to practice lifting my leg and trying to get over this object. So that's why it's my target. My target is to lift 2 inches, if that, up off the ground and be able to get up and over that object. So again, it's right outside of my leg. So it doesn't matter whether it's the dumbbell, the noodle feels and looks taller. I'll try it with the noodle. Notice how I'm moving very slow. I'm not trying to move fast. This isn't about how many reps. The more time under tension, the more proprioceptive information you're going to be giving your brain, which is going to be better. So more is not better. Longer, slower, and intentional is better. Again, I could use the yoga block. For me, I have quite a bit of mobility. I have a very broad degree of hip flexion. I have a very big range of hip flexion. So I can go to, again, an object that's a little bit taller. Almost feeling a little bit of a cramp down the quad. That's okay. That's normal. That means that quadricep is really having to fight to stay in that contracted state. And the quadricep is correlated and connected to the hip flexor. It's all connected. But make sure that you do perform this on both sides. You'll notice that my hands are down by my sides as well, whether it's your fingertips, a flat palm. If you need a little bit of added support, maybe your arms are shorter than your torso, you have a long torso, you may even need something underneath your hands just to create a little bit of that stiffness and stability in the upper body so that you can flex the hip joint and use those hip flexors to move the lower body. Again, if you have any questions at all, be sure to send me a DM and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.